And so that is all. Everton lose their final game of the season. 13 wins, 9 draws, 16 losses in what would have equated to 48 points, but with the 8-point deduction sits us in 15th position when the season is complete. And I mean, this game didn't really matter for us, the final game being an L, of course, against Arsenal. Arsenal having a lot more to play for than us. And I mean, I just love final day. Just to see, especially if there's a fight at the top or there's a relegation battle, just to see the mood of the crowd change with one simple goal. It doesn't even have to be in the arena. I just find that fascinating. Where other results from other places, everyone's got their phones out, trying to keep tabs of what's going on in the other games that concern them. Well, it was fully on display today. Arsenal, they win today, but they lose the league. So, I mean, credit to them for their season, but I mean, obviously you go into next season chasing more and trying to knock that giant in Man City off the pedestal. So, yeah, but I think we should talk about the game a little bit. This game was, well, Arsenal were chasing this game for basically the entire match. They ended the game with 26 shots. They had 69% possession. It is on brand for Everton to give up a high percentage total to an opposition that, well, have a clear talent disparity or discrepancy. Arsenal have so many better players than us. We don't exude as much class, but we were on the scoreboard first, which, I mean, speaks volumes about how well we've been able to turn shit into gold, basically. Set pieces have been a staple of the Dyche system. We didn't have really any corners to go by, but the free kicks, they were pretty effective. We had a couple of them just outside the box, and that was a byproduct of the counter-attack working wonders. There were a couple of stages where I think Doucouré was a really good player today. I'm going to give him player of the match because from my perspective, Duke's had one of his best games in a long time, I think, because it's been a much tougher 2024 than it was 2023, at least the back end of 23. But today, I think he was a great supporting piece for DCL and he was used in some ideal situations, brought the ball up on the counter. There were a couple of moments where he split defenders, had them on skates. I just think even him getting back, I think he was a pretty important piece in giving us a few shots at goal, because I don't think if he wasn't existing today, I think we would really struggle, because of course, DCL on an island against Saliba and Gabriel, I mean, it's curtains. So I think Dukes did a great job. That goes without saying that Idrissa Gana Gueye and Amadou Onana in centre midfield, I think they were awesome. Their defensive work, very admirable. Onana was lunging for challenges basically every couple of minutes. I mean, this guy was defending for his life and probably for his Everton career. I mean, he's probably trying to elevate that value so he gets a big club move in the summer. But last couple of games this season, Onana has proven his worth, and should he be at Everton next season, I think he could be a great asset if he is consistent, because he has those phases where he just doesn't rock up. DCL had a really good game today, though. If we move forward to the attacking line, I think he was awesome. I really think he was. He proved to be a good option for us again. He had a couple of shots, one of which hit the post. The other one, I mean, there were a couple others, but they didn't really result in goals. There was a good shot in the second half where he ducked inside, shot on the right foot, Raya with a pretty athletic save, if you ask me. So it's good to see DCL firing off shots that have a little bit more threat, because for a long time there, he couldn't even get a shot off. He wasn't making contact with the ball, and when he was scuffing it. So it's good to see him reaching much better peaks at the end of the season as opposed to earlier on. I think this run of games has really served as valuable for him, because he can carry that form into the off-season, have a good pre-season, go into next season just hitting the ground running. And there'll be competition for spots next season with Beto and Chamidi potentially blossoming into something more. So I think he was pretty good with his hold-up again today, albeit on an island at times. But then the wide players, I think Dwight McNeil did a great job of those inverted runs and whatnot. He also was a key piece in those transition moves, those counter-attacks that we executed on a pretty regular basis. It was a pretty open game because, of course, Arsenal had 26 shots. You know, their defensive side of things, probably they let their guard down a little bit, you know, chasing the game a little bit more, especially with that first goal being conceded. But, I mean, Arsenal's attacking threat this game was pretty tough to contend with. Jared Branthwaite looked very out of sorts today. I mean, I don't know what it was, but passing out from the back, he just could not nail a pass. There were more errors than I'd seen in probably the previous 10 games. You had quite a few headers on offer for the opposition. I mean, Havertz got his head to one. There were a couple of posters as well. And then Ashley Young just deciding, yeah, let's launch a cross-court pass. I say cross-court, but a pass across the pitch that is simply not on offer. And you just leave your entire backline out to dry. I expect better from a 39-year-old, full stop. I don't care what game it is. I don't care what time of year it is. I expect better. Just the same as I expect Jared Branthwaite to do better with the passing that he, well, stuffed up earlier in the contest. So, yeah, Seamus Coleman did okay, but there were plenty of cutbacks by Arsenal because they were just feeding the wide players, getting it in board, and squaring it up for those, you know, those players running into the box to just fire away. There were a couple of chances, but that's how they got their first goal. Tomiyasu was sitting outside the box. He just basically sprinted inside. The ball was squared up, and he absolutely dealt with it. So Seamus, he's got a season to go. I would assume so. Ashley Young, the same. These guys cannot be playing Premier League football next season as a tandem. I do expect, you know, I expect a little bit of an upgrade to be had in the off-season. Hopefully we get some good fullbacks. Mikolenko, of course, will be back. Do we back in Patterson going forward? I'm not too sure. It seems like they're not very fond of him, or at least Sean Dyche isn't. So now's just really the waiting game. It's going to be very interesting to see how much turnover we have with this 11 that we fielded today. If I go through the starting 11, DCL should be there. Dwight will be there. Garner will be there. Idrissa Gana Gueye will be there. Onana's a question mark. I don't think he's going to be there next season. Then you've got Young and Coleman. They're going to play, but I don't want to see them on the pitch starting 11. Branthwaite and Tarkovsky, I hope we maintain that partnership, because if we can get our attacking flow to go, then we're going to become a much better side, because you're potentially looking at a team in the positive for goal difference. Goals have been an issue. Backline issues have been pretty few and far between, even though we've had our fair share of mistakes. 51 goals conceded in a season when you're 15th on the table is a great return. So I'm just more looking forward to what is to come. But unfortunately for the end of the season, in terms of looking at this result in isolation, Tracksuit Dyche is now beaten. So we can't say that that tracksuit has some ridiculous powers that aren't worth toying with. So yeah, that's going to do it from me. I mean, this is a pretty short recap. I didn't have too much to talk about today. I did watch this game more so in the background. It was probably a little bit less on my mind, knowing that Everton have, you know, dealt with business for the first time in a couple of years. So it was good to have a final day where I'm watching things from afar and seeing other fans basically lose their minds over anxiety or over ecstasy. So a good season by the boys, a much more stabilised year. From my perspective, I just want to thank everyone that's watched any of these during the season, because, you know, these videos probably don't get a lot of viewership. Well, they don't, but I appreciate you all rocking up, listening to the recap, listening to what I have to say, and potentially maybe learning something new. I wouldn't guarantee that, but I appreciate you being here regardless, and showing your support. If you've sent through a comment or something like that, I do appreciate that as well. But what's next? I mean, we're probably going to do maybe a little bit of off-season content, depending on, well, time first and foremost, but then, of course, the activity that this team undergoes, because I don't know if we're going to be all that proactive in the off-season. There may be some profound moves. Onana may go out the door, and we may flip that for a couple of players, depending on the fee that we can garner in return, but there's no guarantees on that either. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up from me for the last time this season. We'll chat to you soon. Have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.